It is Thursday, April 14th, 2022, and it's about 10 a.m. You know, every morning I wake up and I, change and feed the baby, and then I hold him and I play with him for a little bit while I have my own coffee and breakfast. And sometimes he takes a morning nap, and then I'll have maybe half an hour to an hour where I can get stuff done, like shower, and maybe do a little studying. So anyway, he's currently taking a little nap, morning nap. There's not a lot of time. And so sometimes just like showering and stuff like that will take up all of that nap time. And I'm right back to holding him and playing with him for the rest of the day. So it's hard to get things done. Like I said before though, for housework, it's not bad because he'll be happy being strapped to me, and as long as I'm walking around doing things, he's pretty happy. It's more like the sitting down at a desk type work. He just gets bored and then he starts fussing and making all kinds of noise. And that includes, of course, video stuff, right? I can't really just sit and talk to a camera with him because he just makes a bunch of noise and messes up the audio. Anyway, this morning I wanted to mention something quick here. I got some extension tubes maybe last week for some macro photography work. I've gotten a telephoto lens for bird photography just to kind of spice things up a little bit, get the creative juices going. But another way to get the creative juices going is to do some macro work. And so I got extension tubes. But to date, I have not done any macro work at all in about the week that I've had these extension tubes. So I really should try it out. It's hard to find things inside the house that are worth taking macro shots of. But anyway, what I think I'm going to try and do is very quickly test this out. I've already tested them out for their minimum focus distance. They work, but what I'm not sure about, and what I haven't tested yet, is how much it affects the far focus. I know, obviously, with extension tubes, you're trading, infinity focus for close focus, but I want to know how much that affects things, because I potentially see another use for extension tubes. One use is the obvious one. It allows you to decrease minimum focus distance, which might be good for telephoto birding lenses if a bird lands nearby, right? But like if you are also needing to take a picture of a bird far away, are you able to keep that extension tube on, or do you have to fiddle around and take the tube off and then put the lens back on just to get the bird in the distance? I don't know. We'll see. The other thing, obviously, extension tubes can be used for is magnification. We talked about this already for macro photography. But another use that I'm wondering about that I don't think anybody's talked about is sort of just avoiding minimum focus distance problems, because most lenses tend to have a softer image quality when you're close to the minimum focus distance. But that's also where you get the shallowest depth of focus. And so it's desirable sometimes to be shooting close to minimum focus distance, but it does give some softness for a lot of lenses. So I'm wondering, if I put an extension tube on it, maybe what I can do is make it so that I can get closer to a subject, but not have it within that sort of near minimum focus distance area, and hopefully increase picture sharpness and contrast. I don't know, is that a thing? I might have to give it a shot, I guess. Because if it is a thing, that's another reason to leave extension tubes on your camera, provided that you don't need, infinity focus. And so again, I will have to we'll also have to see how much that affects the sort of distance focus. Yeah. Well, I just answered my question. So here it is. I have the sort of smallest extension tube on for the minimum effect. This is just 10 millimeters. I also have a 16 millimeter extension tube. So I used the smallest one, the 10, just to see like the minimum effect. And yeah, I hooked it up to both my telephoto birding lens as well as this popular 35mm f1.8 lens from Sony. Yeah, it takes away a lot of distance focus. So much so that like the actual plane of focus that I could get was probably only about 10 centimeters or less, right? So you can only focus within 10 centimeters. That's it. So you cannot leave an extension tube on. You will not be able to focus on anything more than a few feet away from you. Of course, it depends on the lens. I think with this guy, I was able to get maybe from about 1 foot to 2, maybe 3 feet. But anything beyond that, it cannot focus. So anyway, that answers that question. So these extension tubes will be solely for macro work. Oh well. It's too bad because like this 18mm f1.8, it's like, it's got a reputation, you know, it's pretty good and sharp, except when you get close, the image quality kind of falls apart. But as long as you are taking things that are decent distance away, it's actually respectively sharp, and it's got a 1.8 aperture, which is nice and fast. But yeah, when you get close enough for like portrait type stuff, it's kind of soft. All right, so let me sort of demonstrate the effect of this macro extension tube. As you can see, I have an extension tube on here. It's the 10mm ones, so you know, I'm using the minimal effect, right? I'm not using the 16, and I'm not stacking them. And I have the 35mm f1.8, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip to manual focus, and then I'm going to put the focus at the minimum here, okay? And we're gonna focus on this guy. So at minimum focus, that's where I am in focus, right about there. And now I'm going to change the focus to the farthest focus, and we'll see where it's in focus. It's right there. So yeah, you can see that adding an extension tube significantly limits the amount of focusing range you have on your lens.